Guys, check it out! I got an original copy of Kingdom Hearts 2! I mean, technically it's Kingdom Hearts 2. It's weird to think about Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories as a concept, because it's really bizarre when you think about it. This was the direct follow-up to the original game, Kingdom Hearts, on PS2, and they put it on Game Boy Advance. They had a completely different art style with it, completely different gameplay system with it, and it was fully playable on a handheld that was from a separate company from the company that the original game was made, and yet they still gave it a completely new story that is fully a continuation of Kingdom Hearts 1. They fully expect you to know, or to have played Kingdom Hearts 1 in order to get this. Like, they don't, aside from, like, slight glossary of the journals, like, they don't really do much to fill you in. Like, you don't see that. Like, even now, it's hard to think of a series like that where they just put a random game on a random system like this and just be like, yeah, this is a direct follow-up to this. This is where the story goes after the original. It's like... like, I suppose there's a few more, but not a ton. Like, this really stands out on both the Kingdom Hearts series history, as well as just the Game Boy Advance series history. Like, it's a very unique game, and something I just realized, like, as I was prepping for this video, it's turning 20 this year. This game, right here, by November, will be 20 years old, and that is crazy. Alright, I'm gonna put this down here now. So, when I first got into the Kingdom Hearts series, by the time I did, it was like post-Dream Drop Distance, pre-Cage 3. So, like, everyone kind of knew by then, like, there's a whole bunch of these other handheld titles, and you gotta know all of them to know the story, and, like, my introduction to the series was through, like, YouTube videos of people, like, explaining this stuff. So I knew that when I was first planning on watching walkthroughs of the series, that Chain of Memories, I would need to watch Chain of Memories between Cage 1 and 2 in order to understand things. So sadly, I cannot say I was one of those kids who played Kingdom Hearts 1 and then played Kingdom Hearts 2 and was like, what the heck is going on here? I fully knew. I fully knew what was happening. That said, when I first got into Chain of Memories, I first looked at the cutscenes for the remake that came out on PS2 just a few years later. Which I think is a pretty common way to consume Chain of Memories, just like watching the full motion cutscenes of that game. And also, eventually, once I actually got a PS4 and started playing this stuff, I did eventually play through Chain of Memories, and actually quite enjoyed it. I really got into that. But I always ignored the GBA version. This is always just sort of like a... This is always just an obscure piece of the series to me. Like, I never really ventured out to look more into it. But, oddly enough, I think in recent years, a lot of people have been saying, like, the GBA version of Chain of Memories actually holds up better than the PS2 version, and I always just sort of like, okay, like, it's, I mean, sure, but it's not the Game Boy Advance, like, how good could that be, though? But, well, I was on an eBay binge a couple years back, and I saw this game for just $20, and I was really trying to get all the games I could from Kingdom Hearts at that point. Like, I got Daisy Recoded on DS, I got Dream Drop Distance, the original, on 3DS, so I was like, sure, we'll throw this in. But, oddly enough, I had never actually played it up until just this last month. I decided to finally dive into it, and part of my motivation for that was because of this guy right here. I mean, it's true, it is a handheld game now. That's weird to think about. Like, this was a handheld game, and then it got remade for consoles, and now the handheld game is finally on a handheld. That just cracks me up for some reason. I really like that. But yeah, with now both versions of this game now fully in a portable setting, I figured it'd be good to just look at both of them and see if there's things I like from either of them, things I dislike from either of them, which one provides a better handheld experience. And also, it's just an excuse to just finally dive into this, because I've never actually played it in full until just this last month, so, you know, why not? Alright, how about I get this sucker open and I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, unfortunately I do not have a Game Boy Advance. That was before my time. Nintendo DS was the first console I ever had, so that's what we're stuck with today. "2006, kids, where you at?" Actually, no, I got this in 2009. What am I saying? Fun facts, this is also 2001, kids. So yeah, fun facts, this is also my first physical GBA game. So this is also the first time I got to like experience what it's like to play Game Boy Advance games on a DS. And I think this is a good game to do it with. So yeah, I bought this used, so try and remember, this guy was someone else's save file. So is this guy. But basically, I ended up getting a full 18.5 hours on Sora's story and 4.5 hours on Riku's story. Beat both of them. I gotta say, one thing I don't like is that they don't like give you save states for anything. Like if I go to Sora's story right here, like it goes to where my last save was, which was not right before the final boss. That kind of irks me a bit, because now it's like, if I want to beat the final boss again, I gotta like go through the rooms again or whatever, and it's just... But let's actually get into it. Let's actually... Honestly, just running around is really nice. Like, honestly, just looking at this, it's kind of intriguing to me, because I'm so used to like seeing this universe, these characters in a 3D setting. So putting Sora in this sprite-based world, in this sprite model, is just... It's very unique to me, and it's also very charming. Like, there's nothing about this that feels skimped. This feels exactly what Sora, like, how he looks, how he runs, like, how he just is able to just move about and everything. Like, everything just feels so just perfectly translated into pixels. And it's so crazy to see. This way, sure. Wait, did I beat everybody? I might beat everybody. Oh, this is a treasure room. That's fine. Okay. Come on. So if you never played Chain of Memories, the combat system in this game is very different from what you might be used to in the other games. Let me just go find some enemies and I'll show you here. Actually, let's just make a new room. Yeah, let's just do a sleeping room. So yeah, basically you can customize with different things. All the cards, all these different cards make different rooms based on different abilities and such. I don't like that you can't like see exactly what each of them do from this screen. You kind of just have to remember what they were. Hopefully you looked at the journal beforehand, because otherwise it's like, okay, there's stars here and there's lasting days. I can kind of infer it. It's like, oh, it stuns them or something, but like that's still like something I would like a little more just text on. That's something I'm used to more with the remake. But yeah, let's go Teaming Darkness. That'll work. Okay, hopefully some enemies show up, and yep. Oh yeah, so it's Teaming Darkness, there's a bunch of them, and oh, whacked him on the head. Yay. Okay. Let me just pause just to give a rundown on the controls here. So basically, you move around with a directional pad, which, given that we're sort of in this, not necessarily 3D setting, more like an isometric perspective type thing, where it's like you can still move around in a 3D space, but with a fixed camera. So you just move with a D-pad, and then you attack with... God, I don't even remember what it is. Like, it's... Right, so you use cards in this game, and all of them are right in the bottom here. Come on. Higher card wins, obviously, and... You hit him with the A button for the controls here, and then in order to stock cards or use slates, and this is the one part of the controls I don't really like, you gotta tap L and R at the same time. Which, for my hands, my lack of hand coordination, it's very easy to just hit L and R either way and just shuffle through cards when you meant to make a slate, and then you mess up your slate. That was a common thing in this game. It doesn't happen that often, and like after a while, you get used to it, but it is something that's still a bit hard to go through at times. Ooh, level up. Okay. And then dodge roll is double tap with the left and right button. I barely use that just because, like, I appreciate that they tried to make a mostly uncompromised control experience for the Kingdom Hearts series with the few buttons they had. Because like on GBA, you only have like L, R, B, A, D-pad. That's pretty much all you got. But like, could we really not get anything else? Like, could we really... I would have appreciated a lock-on or something. Like, why not use that with the L button and then like use the R buttons for... I don't know. I feel like they could have done other things to make it feel less clunky, in my opinion at least. I'm losing so bad right now. But honestly, for what they did, it still works. And again, after a while, you do get into a good groove with it, so I am appreciative of that, at least. Something else I also want to highlight before I die here. Actually, I am going to die here. Let's just go. Let's just... Oh yeah, level it up. Yeah. 60, baby. In terms of actually making your deck too, this is something else where it's like, this screen, I appreciate how much they're able to fit in one screen. It does feel a little clunky, but it also kind of makes sense if you get into it. I think that's just, that's what I'm going to be saying throughout this whole thing. It's just like, the setup for this game makes sense, given the limitations. It just takes a while to get used to it. And I did eventually get used to it. Like, again, I sank like a collective of 20 hours into this game, so it eventually worked out. But like, it is a bit hard having to like swap screens. Like, okay, this is your adding screen, and this is where you can like go add cards and such. And then, oh, but if you gotta arrange them, you have to hit back, and then you can actually arrange them. If you want to remove cards, that's a separate screen. I feel like you could have made like the edit screen and the remove screen the same screen, but it still works. It's still fine. It still works out. But yeah, something about this game just... Again, it's sort of a marvel to look at. It's so charming in this art style, and I just... Like, again... Something I also want to point out too... Let me just turn the volume for this, actually. Yeah, this is... Come on. If you can hear that, this is pre-pubescent Sora once again. Which, after going through Rechain of Memories, it's weird to hear young Sora coming out of this game. Like, it's just... It's all here, like... Yeah. Okay, now I'm just playing. Now I'm just... Like, again, this game works for what it is, and I do think that is cool. The slates in this game, they're... Because of the different perspective of this game compared to Rechain, like, there's definitely... Going into this one after having played the remake, there's several different slates that work semi-differently, and in some ways they're almost more broken than what they're in a remake. In some ways they're just not at all. Like, I think when you think Rechain of Memories, you think, oh, Sonic Blade's so busted, but in this game it's just like, it's like chip damage. It does not do much, and also you don't even use button props for it. It's just automatic. Whereas like here, I'd say the slates I relied the most on were the raids, like Judgment, Air Raid, and even just like standard Fire Raid and Blizzard Raid. Like, those do so much. I think part of that is like, because battles fully take place just on like a rectangular screen, it's so easy to just fit enemies into just one like side length of it, essentially, which makes the raid attacks way more useful. Like, they just do so much damage because there's just less space here to work with. Okay, that was a bad example, but like, still, that's a huge radius. That's a huge radius for Fire Raid compared to what I feel like the remake does, which is just not that much. It's weird. It's weird to see it. But yeah, overall, it's amazing just how like in-depth the combat experience of this game is. Like, I would have liked some other things, like, you also don't have any shortcuts, which isn't that big of a deal, but like, I still would appreciate like some way to move your cards other than just left and right. But for what it is, it still works. It still works for what it does. And like even like going up against bosses, like it did not feel at all compromised compared to what I was playing in the remake, which is crazy to think about. I didn't think it'd be that seamless of a transition. Except for a few bosses, like Maleficent was definitely the one where it's like, what the frick? Because for the most part, I just were relying on slates to take down these guys, and Maleficent, because of her hitbox, is all the way up on the top. Like, you can't do that. So you have to basically just, like, use high-level cards and just hit her mouth. Which just isn't fun. It's just not fun to go through, and you have such a small space to do it, and it's just, ugh. But yeah, Maleficent was like that, Darkseid was like that, where you just sort of have to think about them differently, but also, and this is also sort of one of the downsides of having an isometric perspective like this, is that when I was fighting them, I couldn't really tell if I was like in front of them or behind them, so like I would miss a line. Again, no lock on, it's just easy to just give it your all with just one hit, and then it's like, oh no, you weren't actually hitting there. And then you're wasting an attack card. And then you gotta wait till the next reload. And it's just, ugh. But yeah, in terms of gameplay mechanics, it could have been better, but given the circumstances of making a game for the Game Boy Advance, it's amazing they were able to do it this well. Like, I am amazed at how engrossed I got into this game. I didn't think I was gonna beat it all the way, and then I just did. Like, this was awesome. Yep, there it is. This is also something crazy. Like, I associate Twilight Town so much with just Kingdom Hearts 2 and Days, and just like being this like huge premiere world for Kingdom Hearts 2, and yet like it debuted in this game. This is the game it debuted in. This is how we first saw it, just as a collection of pixels. It's amazing just how much detail I got. Like, this feels and looks exactly like the Twilight Town of KH2. Like, this right here literally just looks straight out of, like, one of the hallways in there. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. Let me save real quick. Oh, yeah. Something else I should probably mention as I'm walking through here. You can't, and I don't get why. Like, in the original, you could, like, heal yourself with save points. Can't do that here, because there are these freaking orbs in this game, and I don't get why. I don't get why they felt the need to do that. Whatever, I guess. Okay, so I gotta get some health. Health. This is also just good music. Yeah. The old music's here. Everything is that you remember from KH2 was here first, which is crazy to think about. And it fully looks the same as it was in KH2, fully uncompromised. Let me get into a battle here. Like, this literally looks like just right out of like one of the many streets in the original, in Twilight Town and KH2. Like, it just, I'm just surprised just how much detail they got here. Like, especially considering they were probably making it the same time as KH2. Like, I don't know how much they were able to, like, show off with this, but, like, just the amount of detail they were able to just put into this game for just a single world. And obviously it helped that, like, all the rooms were the same across all the worlds with different cards, but it's still crazy to think about. Having only played Chain of Memories for so long, I kind of assumed that a lot of the stuff from that game was, like, just taken over from KH2 after the fact, and the original Chain of Memories didn't have certain things that I associate with Kingdom Hearts 2, but, like, everything is here from the remake. Like, they added new Heartless to this game that you would only see later in KH2, that Heartless that weren't originally in KH1. Like, come on, where is it? Like, this guy, the Tornado Step here, or this guy, Creeper Plant, these guys weren't in the original. At least I don't think. Crescendo definitely wasn't. Like, I don't normally associate these guys with Chain of Memories. I think it was more like KH2. And then it's like, oh, they're in Rechain, but like that's just KH2 synergy. That's all that's happening there. No, they were in the original here, and they put them in this beforehand. Like it blows my mind. Like this had to have taken like what, a year or two to develop, and yet they were like, no, we're gonna make an in-depth story with this. We're gonna make a new art style. We're gonna remake all the same worlds, but in a 2D isometric viewpoint. We're gonna throw in some stuff that we're already thinking about for KH2, and we're gonna throw into this, and we're gonna make it all connected. Like, and all this is in 2004. Like, this game really did so much when it did not have to, and I fully appreciate this game so much for that. I think, you know, if you're new to Kingdom Hearts, like, definitely play the remake first, I think, just because it's a bit easier to, like, understand the story with, just because it's the same models and such, but don't sleep on this version. I would not sleep on this version. Like, there's a lot more value in this than you may expect. At least with Sora's story. Well, actually, no, even with Riku's story, like, okay, Riku's story doesn't have the duel system, and because of that, battles are a lot more monotonous. Actually, why am I telling you when I could just show you? Let me just... How do I get out of here? There we go. Yeah, in case you don't know, cheat code to reset, start selects B and A. That is something else I do like about this game, the quick save. Just being able to save anywhere, and go back, put the game down, and just be able to come back to it. Obviously, you can't go to other saves, you can only go back to the same save if you quick save, but it is still a nice feature. Yeah, let's take a look at Riku. So yeah, this is something else that's crazy to me. Like, the fact that we just got Riku, like, here in this game, fully playable for the first time, is just awesome. They didn't have to do this. They could have just made this a straight, like, one-to-one redo of KH1, but in sprite form, and people probably would have liked it. It would have been fine. But they went the extra mile, and I love that so much. Even with, like, his own, like, voices and everything, it's just awesome. I love it. But yeah, I will say, his mode isn't really as good in this game compared to the remake, if only because, like, there's no duel system. So you're kind of just stuck with no slates or anything until you get into the Dark Riku form, which even then, it takes so much longer to get into Dark Riku form in this game. Maybe it's just because I'm used to just, like, hitting people with cards rather than wasting a card with stocks. I try to avoid that as much as I can, but, like... Oh man, this is so cool. Sorry, I'm just gawking. It's just... Again, I like what they did. It's just... This definitely felt a bit more half-baked compared to Sora's End, at least gameplay-wise. But it's still kind of fun, and again, like... I felt like I was sort of, like, breezing through, not trying to beat through every enemy the same way I was with Sora's story. Like, I got him up to, like, level 40 for the final boss, and I still made through it just fine. Overall, I think both modes have their own merits, and I think the fact that we got everybody in his pixel art style, the fact that we got Mickey, we got to first see Mickey in this series here, in pixels like this, that's just crazy to me. I love this so much. And I'm so glad I finally got to play it. But, how does this compare to this? So after I finished playing Chain of Memories on GBA, I went right to playing the remake on Steam Deck. And let me tell you, this was strange playing this game, now with the added context of what I played in the GBA version. Like, so much feels more almost off now. It's crazy, like, just how much I was, like, going through and, like, oh, yeah, this doesn't feel as interesting anymore. like, I don't know, I do like what this game did. I like that we got updated 3D cinematics for it, but I think in some ways, like, some of the charm got lost a bit, which I'll explain that once I get into it. something else I want to mention. I know when I did this the last time for KH1, I talked a lot about like the visual fidelity and like the graphics and such, and if there are any bugs with this version. I couldn't really tell a difference playing Rechain compared to my past experiences on PS4. And I think part of that is just because I waited long enough to where they fixed almost everything with it. So yeah, overall, this is just straight up an uncompromised version of Rechain of Memories, and it slaps. It works. So yeah, just going into it, look at this 3D movement, and so I will say, considering the first time I played this was right after KH1, I do appreciate that this does move like KH1. Like, everything from Sora's movement in KH1 is right here. Like, we got the attacks, we got the jumps, the dodge rolls. They even added glide in this version, which is awesome. In some ways, I think it makes it a little harder to get through rooms now, because like now, like just the way rooms are structured, they're structured basically the same as they were in the original, except now there's like this endless void at the front where the camera used to be for the GBA, and it feels awkward to me. Some floors definitely take advantage of the space better, in my opinion. Like, some of them have like actual like art or like actual like background elements using that space, but for the most part, it looks very awkward. Maybe it's sort of supposed to add to the look. These are all like just randomly generated rooms created by the castle. It still feels a little odd though. I would have preferred if they did a little more to just sort of add to the 3D space. Something else I was also thinking about with this game, like, they didn't have to make it a full 3D thing. Like, again, for a newcomer, I'm sure it's fine, but also, like, you know, last year I played Super Mario RPG, the remake, and one thing I really enjoyed about that game was that they sort of kept the isometric perspective while still making the characters and models in a fully 3D, more like cartoonish, playful setting, and I'm wondering, maybe we could have done that with Chain of Memories? I feel like if this game was remade today, that would make more sense. As sort of a way to sort of keep the integrity of the original GBA version, while still modernizing it, and still having, like, the 3D look and, like, cinematics that we're more used to with KH1. I don't know, I think that would have been a better middle ground compared to what we got here. But, for what it is, it's alright. Like, this Steam Deck version, I will say, does control better. I like the controls better here. But yeah, I'd say probably the most drastic thing about this game is the combat. Like, what the heck? 3D movement. It plays so different now. And like, look at that, fire rate doesn't take up that much space. I do like a bunch of the slates they add, and obviously, if you play this game, you know there's some absolutely broken slates. Lethal Frame, absolutely broken against bosses. Sonic Blade. Like, need I say more? But again, I also think just looking at this, it just feels like a lot of, like, the uniqueness of the original sort of just been washed out a bit. Like, I kind of miss, like, how the original looked, because it felt, like, unique and different from the other games, whereas this kind of just blends into it now. Which isn't bad, per se, it's just, I don't know. But yeah, if nothing else, at the very least, the controls are definitely better. Like, you can lock onto things, you use the Y button, or back on PS2, the triangle button to make slates, which is so much better. It's so much just easier to just get into, just from holding it, or like just from control-wise, at least. So it definitely has that over the original. But I don't know, I just think a lot of like the style of the original game is just sort of gone now, because that's just what happens when you translate CGI characters to pixels back to CGI, I guess. Like, it's hard to like retain what we had from the pixels. Like, even just stuff like this screen, like right here. I used to think this was fine. Now this almost looks like, because like on the original GBA it made sense, like why these fonts were like this, but like now it also feels like it's like these are like PC Mac colors or something. But these are just like, they almost feel a little too simplistic now. Like, they don't really mesh well with the art style, at least in my opinion. Just this font it feels off to me. I don't know why. I think this font with this font feels off to me. That said, I do still like this game, and in some ways I think mechanically it's better again. The fact that we have dual system for Riku, the fact that like we have a much more fleshed out final boss with Marluxia, one that you can actually use slates for, is nice. It's also nice that like we get like extra keyblades, extra new slates to work with in this game, and like the fact we have multiple modes, like I was able to play this on Proud mode, have a more challenging experience was nice. Also, the voice cutscenes, they're a little awkward, but I would still rather have them than not, even though admittedly some of them do sound weird. Well, I do think when they were making the remake, the intention might have been to sort of replace the original. I don't think that's what's truly happened. Honestly, I think it's okay that we have just both of these versions, you know? And like, when I was first going through this experience, I was wondering, like, which one would I want more over the other one, or like which one is like superior. And I don't really think that's the case anymore. Like, each version just has different strengths in this way. Like, Recom has like 3D cutscenes, it has better quality of life controls, I think it has more fleshed out gameplay, I think it has more to do with the gameplay compared to the original. But the original does have a lot more uniqueness to it. It has like a more unique perspective on things, and the pixel art style, it definitely adds a bit more personality in a way that 3D models just can't convey. So overall, I think both versions are fine. Like, honestly, like I don't think I mind like being able to just flip-flop between either of these. Like, it doesn't have to be like one or the other. And I think that's one of the great strengths of remakes. Like, just because like you make something a bit more like manageable for general audiences doesn't mean the original has to go away per se. And you know, I think it's okay to have both. Both of these are crucial parts of Kingdom Hearts history, and I don't think there necessarily needs to be one better than the other. Like, if I had to pick, honestly, no, I don't even think I can pick one. Like, okay, if I had to pick one right now, like if I had to pick what I would rather play right now, the remake or the original. Having played both of them on DS, on Steam Deck, I think I'd give it to the remake, honestly. But that does not mean that I don't enjoy the original. It just means, like, this just has more content, like, especially also on Steam with achievements, which I do plan on getting the achievements. I am planning on getting these characters to level 99. It's gonna happen. I'm a madman for this series. I will do it. Like, even without the achievements, like, multiple modes, and just way more slates, and way more just ways to, like, customize your experience. I just think there's a lot more to do in this game, even though it admittedly has less personality. Which is why I do still want to play this game again. I think this isn't just like a pick up and put down experience. I do want to like pick this one up again every now and then, but I think overall, it's cool that we have like two different versions of this game. There's not that many Kingdom Hearts games you could say that about. But yeah, overall, I'm glad that we finally have a game on a handheld, and a remake of a game on a handheld on a handheld.